Fun times, Joe. Fun times. So, Joe, let me ask you something. How do you feel that, 10, 11 years of Marvel movies has came to an end with Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, it was good, and I like that they had a definite ending for this kind of, it's interesting. It's like a trilogy of, you know,
Each character, because when you get down to each main Avenger, except for Hulk, Captain America had 3 personal movies, Iron Man did, Thor did. I mean, they all had, as you said, trilogies about each individual character, and then there was 3 Avengers movies? Because they had... Oh, yeah, because Endgame and all that. But, I mean, we gotta give it to them. I mean, Marvel has done cinematic history. And honestly, it's gonna be remembered for a while. And I know you were just so ready for it. Just so ready, but with the new lineup that came out from Comic-Con this year, how do you feel about Phase 4?
Well, let's see. The Black Widow movie, I've kind of wanted to see since the first Avengers movie. And a lot of people did. I mean, like, a lot of people specifically, like that, I guess it was designed as a throwaway line between Hawkeye and Black Widow. The whole, it's just like Budapest, you, me and you. And, like, a lot of people kind of jumped us, like, we want to know about that. And so it's funny that people kind of demanded a Black Widow movie for years.
And they never got it.
And the answer that they got was, well, we don't think people are ready for a female superhero movie. I mean, that was pretty much the answer.
Maybe we talk about Wonder Woman for a second.
And then Wonder Woman came out, and it was extremely successful, and Captain Marvel came out, and it was not received well.
But it did make over $1 billion.
Box office wise, it was fine. I mean, it could have been a better movie. I mean, like, I hope that they understand between Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. Obviously, Captain Marvel made a lot more money, but it was like you could have put basically anyone in that slot, like right before the last Avengers movie. I hope they understand that people like seeing female superhero movies, but it doesn't have to be about the fact that they're female. I mean, this is the weird thing, I was explaining to somebody the other day about like how toys work and cartoons work, and why sometimes excellent cartoons get axed like at the height of their popularity.
Yeah, like I know I'm gonna go off a little course, but I remember the Thundercats remake. I loved it. I thought it was really good.
It was really good.
It was, I mean, you could tell that these people, you could see their passion for that project and the artwork and everything.
And I mean, like, I'm saying it was really good as someone that grew up with the original Thundercats.
As Lion-O constantly loses his sword. It's just like, come on, dude, that's the thing of your people. Hold on to it.
When I was a kid, when I was like 5 years old, that's what it was. It was Thundercats, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Like the golden age of cartoons, in a sense.
And lasers, and everyone miraculously always coming out okay.
And, they had that He-Man attempted reboot, and it was just stupid.
In the 90s? Because I think, like, where he had, like, long, lofty hair.
No, you're thinking, no, that was more like a sequel. They had one that was a prequel, I think in the early 2000s. And nobody even knows about it. But, like, I watched it out of nostalgia, but, like, I couldn't justify that it was good in any way. It had, like, the actual origin of Skeletor and everything, like, all the origins. So it wasn't a sequel, it was a prequel.
And now we have She-Ra.
Oh, yeah.
Which...
She-Ra is... I don't want to talk about She-Ra right now.
We're not going to talk about She-Ra. We're not going to talk about She-Ra, I promise. But
anyway, so it's like these executives, like movie executives or TV executives, toy executives, whatever, they are the ones that want to compartmentalize people by male, female. This is supposed to appeal to boys. This is supposed to appeal to girls. This is supposed to get men ages 18 to 35. This is supposed to get women. They put people in boxes, and if a property appeals to the wrong group of people, even if it's successful, they don't like it because they don't know what to do with it marketing wise or merchandising wise. They don't know which aisle to put the toys in.
Well,
basically.
I mean, the reality is, I understand each toy has an age limit on it, but that's just a suggestion. They have to put that on there.
But, I mean, it's not even like the age thing. It's like you've got boys' toys aisles, you have girls' toys aisles, and they don't like things that cross over. And that is a really big thing with cartoons. That's why Teen Titans got canceled. That's why Young Justice got canceled. Because they were boys' cartoons that also appealed to girls. They didn't know what to do with them. I mean, it sounds like
it's simple. You know what they do? Just keep making the action figures, and the girls can buy them. But, and especially going back to the Marvel, Bob Iger came out, I think it was last year, I could be wrong, where he came out and he said, he wants to make female superheroes the new norm.
Okay. Well, and I mean, like, female superheroes have always been the norm in comics.
Yeah. And even, like, the X-Men TV show.
Yeah.
There was always a female hero there.
Yeah, once you bring the X-Men into the Marvel Universe,
that's supposed to be Phase 5.
What's that? Yeah, Phase 5. But what you do, I mean, there's a plethora of characters of every, gender, race, I mean, whatever. I don't want to go too much into what they've been doing with a lot of those characters lately. But,
it's not that good.
But in the 90s, I mean, it's just, every new character they made, they had a lot of diversity. They didn't make a big deal out of it unless there was like a legitimate story to make out of it. It wasn't like, hey, look at us, we've got, every box marked. It was just they gave characters different back, and that goes back to Chris Claremont. Like even in the 80s, like when he rebooted the X-Men, he wanted it to feel like a more international team. So
right.
He had like, the 5 core members, but it's like, well, I got somebody from Soviet Russia, I've got somebody from Germany.
Which back then, that was a big deal.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal
in the 80s to have a Soviet defector, on
named
your team.
Colossus, who's kind of hella gay with Deadpool at times, but
no, not in the actual
in the movie
comics.
Though.
And besides, everybody's gay with Deadpool. I think
yeah,
it's like
true.
Secondary superpower, but you had somebody from Africa. You originally had someone from Japan on the X-Men team, which was like a bigger deal then than it would be now.
Well, I think a lot of people with the Phase 4 of Marvel is it seems like everything they've announced, there's a woman there. Now, whether or not, like, we'll take the Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Scarlet Witch is supposed to be in there. Now, personally, I don't mind Scarlet Witch.
Yeah,
I know she was originally an X-Men, but in this case, she's just an Avenger. But I know there is...
No, she wasn't an X-Men.
I thought she was.
No, she was...
Quicksilver was, though.
Alright, so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were originally in the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, so they were X-Men enemies. And then once they became good guys, they didn't go to the X-Men, they went straight to the Avengers.
Okay.
Then eventually Quicksilver went to X-Factor for a little bit. But Scarlet Witch, I don't think she ever joined an X
I thought
team.
she did, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think she ever actually joined an X team.
Well, I know with the Doctor Strange movie, it could have potential, especially when you had her powers and the Doctor Strange sorcery.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to wait and see it. And as for the Black Widow movie, it's been talked about recently since they announced it. I think a lot of people would have preferred to have that Black Widow movie released during Captain Marvel. Like, I think they would have preferred a Black Widow rather than a Captain
Well, I
Marvel.
definitely would have liked it before Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, like, it could have,
I mean,
as some people said, it could have showed the story of, like, what Black Widow did during that 5-year time gap.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
you know,
I'm fine with a prequel Black Widow movie. That's kind of what I wanted, to see Black Widow, the Red Room, the other Black Widows, because, I feel like it's just going to introduce her replacement, which is a little sad. It's also got Taskmaster, and Taskmaster is awesome.
Hey, there you go.
Hopefully
look
he
forward to
doesn't
Phase
die.
5.
I mean, hopefully
Fantastic
he doesn't
Four.
die in this one. But, and the Winter Guard, which he probably won't do, but the Winter Guard would be pretty cool. Like the Russian Avengers, basically.
We do this for Soviet Russia. Oh, God.
I mean, they've had one of them kind of, sort of, in Iron Man 2. The guy who was Whiplash, he kind of, sort of also represented Crimson Dynamo.
Yeah, but to be fair, in today's political climate, especially with the whole talk about Trump-Russia collusion, I don't think they're going to do anything like that for a while.
Well, I mean, they should.
Well, they should. I agree with you. I mean, fuck the politics.
Comic books. But... I mean, that's a totally different world. Oh, this is what... I mean, like... that's why I hate... I mean, people will make the argument, it's a very true argument, that politics have always been a part of comic books to some certain degree.
Yeah, but not like this.
But it's always... allegory, it's always metaphor, and it's always something you kind of have the choice, to, I don't want to say accept, but to think about.
Sure.
It's like, it's a good story. Also, there's political subtext that you can read into, and generally not one-sided unless there's like a really obvious good and bad side, which I guess a lot of these writers feel like it's obviously a good and bad side. But I mean, we're not where we were in the 60s, obviously. I say obviously, but I don't think people really think that way.
No, I don't think they do either. Now, a few other things that I want to talk about. A lot's been, like, Phase 4, a lot's been announced, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get more. But how do you feel about the Loki Disney Plus series coming
out? I mean, everybody loves Loki. I mean, and I'm glad that he's not dead, and
Yeah, but this is a, parallel universe.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just going to say I'm interested to see how the parallel universe things, how that's going to play out. I mean, out of all the things they announced, I think that was the thing I was the most interested in.
You're not interested in the Eternals?
Well,
or the What If?
I am. I don't know about What If. Yeah. What If can be cool. I guess What If is really going to explore the parallel universe thing.
Maybe. The way I kind of view What If is when you play Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, there's a What If saga that was like, what if the Saiyans went to war with Frieza? I mean, what if Goku was evil?
It was a series of Marvel comics, and they were some of my favorite ones back in the day because they could tell a story. It was only like a couple of issues, and it was always like really interesting. Not always. I mean, sometimes it was dumb, but it was. Writers like being able to write out of continuity.
Yeah, I mean, I can get with that.
They don't like being shackled. I mean, I'm not going to say they all hate being shackled by continuity, but like if they get a chance to just write a a fun story or whatever. I mean, so yeah, I mean they were really fun stories. Occasionally there would be a callback to them, like I think there's a few of them that were called back in the Exiles comic. I don't know if you know anything about the Exiles.
No, I do not.
The Exiles was kind of like an in-continuity What If. That you had a bunch of characters that basically were going to die in the universe they were from. So they were taken out of it by the time broker, put together on a team, and they went to alternate reality, kind of fixing things.
Huh.
And if they fixed enough things, then their reality would be fixed so that everything would be okay for them. And then they would disappear and they'd go back to reality. And then they would get a new member. And it had Best Girl Blink. I was like the team leader. Like my comic book waifu for like a long time. So, I mean, like, I liked it. And like, I mean, she was the most tragic one because she was from a universe that ceased to exist. So if she ever went back to her universe, then that would be when she died, because she was from the Age of Apocalypse universe, which basically ended.
Thanos took the snap to the next level.
No, I had nothing to do with Thanos.
I had to make that joke, though.
Yeah. No, it was
well,
way too much to describe. But
I
anyway.
know you know, though. You know, I know you can go on all day about the what if, but... Mm-hmm. You know, to just the casual moviegoer like myself, you know, I don't read much of Marvel.
Isn't it going to be a show, though? It's not going to be a movie, right?
I'm not sure.
I thought What If was a Disney Plus show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be...
as a show, I think it'll be really cool. If they did a What If movie, that would be dumb.
Now, the one thing I do want you to kind of explain briefly is the Eternals. Because, as I know you know, because you read the comics, I myself, you know, I'm the casual Marvel fan. I just go to the movies, so... Could you just give us like a brief kind of assumption of what the Eternals are from the comic book movies?
Well, the Eternals is kind of cool knowing that they have mutants back, because basically you have these godlike beings, the Celestials, and you see them occasionally when you've got like flashbacks to the Infinity Stones, like particularly Guardians of the Galaxy with the Power Stone. You full on see a Celestial. And Marvel changed the idea of Celestials a little bit. I mean, they made Ego the living planet a Celestial, which he's not in the comics.
Isn't he literally a giant planet?
Yes. In the comics, he is just a planet. But, you know, the MCU version was probably a little cooler than the actual Ego the living planet, if we're being honest.
I can get behind that.
But anyway, so you have the Celestials, and... for whatever reasons, they just like going around experimenting on life.
Oh no, they're the Daedra from Elder Scrolls.
There's a huge backstory. Basically, they go back to the creation of the universe. The Celestials are not to be fucked around with.
Well, do you think that the Eternals movie is going to be like a prequel to everything, or is it going to be a sequel?
That's where I'm going with it. Okay. So, like, basically, on Earth, they created 3 sub-races of humanity. One of them was the Eternals. Very long-lived, extremely powerful, beautiful, like, perfect, godlike beings that just, you know, they don't reproduce very often, because they live forever.
Pillar Men.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Kind of.
The Pillar Men were the Eternals.
And then you have the Deviants, and the Deviants are, like, basically the opposite of the Eternals in every way. They're all, you know, cruel and ugly and don't live particularly long. I mean, they're still powerful, though. And then you have the mutant gene was added at the same time that this happened. And it just was basically a random gene that would lay dormant unless something activated it. So basically, characters like the Hulk or Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four, all these characters, they're exposed to like radiation or something, and then they randomly get powers. It's actually their mutant gene being activated.
Right.
But, like, once you kind of get into the atomic age and there's, like, natural radiation around, then you have people start being born mutants. But then the other thing is, like, it doesn't activate till puberty most of the time. Unless you've got some crazy, you know, like, Nightcrawler was blue and furry when he was born. Or Franklin Richards was creating, you know, universes in his bedroom when he was like 4.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So sometimes it expresses very early. Usually it's around puberty, but canonically it's always triggered by something. It's just in the modern age there's so much radiation and pollution and whatever that can trigger these genes that's what mutants just start being born as mutants. And it's also why all these accidents that should just kill somebody doesn't kill them. It just gives them superpowers because, like, you know, humans in the Marvel Universe have that kind of dormant mutant gene.
Jeez.
So,
well, how do you think this is going to play in with
so,
the MCU?
I hope that what they're going to do is introduce that concept, you know, point out that people like Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Hulk, all these people have gotten powers supposedly from other things are actually just having their genes, you know, awakened. And that the snap, which released tons of gamma radiation, you know, awakened the mutant gene in a bunch of other people. And then you have the X-Men. Boom.
Well, I think another with the X-Men.
I
think one of the trickier things they're going to have to do is Magneto and Professor X, because you know they're supposed to be the older ones, but also the leaders.
Yeah,
that was going to be a little tricky.
Well, that was what I was going to say. Is, you know, I'm a little hesitant about the X-Men because of that. Because you know, Magneto has his history, and Magneto's starting to become a problem in the comics. Like, they at some point they had to turn him into a baby and then like re-age him because he's too old. He was in a concentration camp in World War II.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you know, he gets so old that they have to shave some years off of him before they have to start explaining why he's still alive, let alone jacked. Let alone
he's Joseph Joestar secretly.
I mean, yeah, I guess. But so
just
yeah, at one point he was turned into a baby, and then he was aged back up, and they had like a young clone of him for a while. They've done a lot of shit with Magneto, so they're gonna have to have a good explanation as to why this World War II Holocaust survivor is in 2019 and still completely in control of his faculties and able to pose a threat.
Well, maybe one thing they could do is, instead of World War II, maybe it was just somewhere during the Cold War. Maybe he was Soviet.
That would be really cool if he was, you know, in a gulag.
Yeah.
But then that would make communism look bad. So they probably won't do that.
Probably not.
Well, I mean, that would be a really cool change to his origin, actually. And, like, now that you mention that, I've seen people suggest that because, like, you know, with Iron Man, for example, he started out in, like, Korea. You know, he's always involved in a war, but it was like the Korean War, and then they retconned it to the Vietnam War, and then they retconned it to more modern wars.
Yeah, they could clearly do something like that.
So yeah, I mean, there's people all the time being imprisoned. You know, I think a Soviet gulag would be
that's actually a good idea.
Next best thing, like
it probably would,
but they're probably not going to do that.
No, they wouldn't. Well, with how they're gonna. The X-Men is still a long ways off. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're probably excited for this because, you know, Doctor Doom, but the Fantastic Four has been confirmed that, you know, they're going to be coming in. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not that's for Phase 4 or Phase 5, it hasn't been confirmed.
It should be the end of Phase 4 because it's Phase 4. I mean, it's right there in the flippin' name.
Just use it.
I mean,
but they haven't really announced how. I think this was a theory But it's like someone suggested that they could have been like America's first heroes, and they were in the '60s. Like, yeah, we're the heroes, but Reed Richards doing Reed Richards things. There was an experiment gone wrong. They went into space, stayed there for like dormant for all these years, and now they come back and it's like, you mean we're not the only heroes anymore?
Yeah, I feel like
there's also this purple guy named Thanos who kicked all of our asses at
first. All right, I just saw a rumor, and I hear this rumor all the time. Like Avengers 5 would be named Annihilation.
Explain.
All right, so one of the Fantastic Four enemies is Annihilus, and he's from the Negative Zone. So it's like a different dimension. Not really a different reality, just a different dimension. And things like time and space and size and everything's different there. So, and the updated retelling of the Fantastic Four, I believe the Ultimate Fantastic Four, which would be so cool if they had Ultimate Reed Richards instead of regular Reed Richards, but nobody's ready for that.
What? All right.
Basically, instead of going into space, they were trying to crack into the negative zone to basically use the negative zone energy for, clean power.
Oh God, power, it's like Doom, using hell for its energy.
Yeah.
Until the demons get loose.
So, and then that negative zone energy, and like I never watched the new Fan Four Stick movie. Like I never watched it. The thing was
naked like the whole time.
I mean, he's Orange Rock guy. I mean, like whatever. But like the whole is the thing stick covered with orange bricks is one of the biggest secrets of the Marvel universe. So thanks for ruining that.
What?
One of the questions Stan Lee got more than any other question was about the Thing's thing. And like, does it have orange rocks on it too? Because that would suck. Even more than being a giant orange rock monster.
Well, I mean, he's gotta piss and shit somehow, but
anyway, so I think the
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, whatever. That shitty last Fantastic Four kind of played with that they were going to the negative zone instead of space or whatever. So hopefully that didn't ruin that idea for a good Fantastic Four movie. But I feel like if it were set during the 60s, and that the Fantastic Four weren't necessarily heroes, like they get sucked into the negative zone. They get powers. They have an adventure in the negative zone. And because of the way time works there versus the way time works here, in our universe, it would look like, oh, well, there was just a horrible accident and they were lost to time or whatever. And then they get out, possibly because the, walls of the multiverse or reality is getting weaker or whatever. But they get out, and when they get out, they're in modern day.
Well, another thing
that I think that would be kind of cool.
And if they did do a 60s setting, they could bring, I can't remember all the names of, they could bring like the Ant-Man, like the old guy,
Hank Pym.
Yeah, they can bring him into
Howard Stark.
Yeah. And if
it would be cool to see.
That would be an interesting idea. It would be a prequel, but it would also be able to expand into the modern era. And plus, different dimensions, they could clearly have Doctor Strange in there. I mean, hell, if they wanted to, they could have it where Doctor Strange was just fucking around with magic and he's like, the fuck are these guys? It's just an idea. It would be a way that they could easily explain how they got out and everything else. It's like, wow, that was such a crazy 12-hour adventure. What's the year? 2019.
Now, I mean, I think they're already sowing the seeds for the Fantastic Four as of Spider-Man Far From Home. Because there's a scene at the end, it's around the Avengers Tower, and a lot of people are like, well, the Avengers Tower, they featured a lot in Spider-Man Far From Home, Far From Home, and sort of construction. It's being changed, and a lot of people assumed it was going to be Oscorp. But if you look closely, there's just like one tiny little scene, like basically a frame or two, where they show it's near Library and 41st Street, New York. And it has a construction sign, and the sign has like 1 in red and 2 in orange and 3 in blue and white, and then a question mark, and it's like grayed out and kind of transparent. And I can't remember what it says, but basically, Library and 41st Street is like right near the Baxter Building where the Fantastic Four are. So it's implied that Reed Richards bought the old Avengers Mansion, and or the old Avengers Tower, and that's going to become the Baxter Building. So that would imply that Reed Richards is in the mainstream MCU, and he's already rich on his patents.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean,
so we got a little woo, but let's talk about some of the other movies they've announced.
Okay.
All right, so Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. Disney Plus streaming. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I am excited to see that a little bit.
Now, do you think this is going to be like a prequel, or do you think Falcon's going to have the shield?
No, this is not going to be a prequel. Okay. This is the information I got on it is actually going to feature U.S. Agent. You don't know who U.S. Agent is. Basically, in the comic books, they tried to replace Captain America with a new super soldier. He was the new Captain America, and there's a big fight argument over who got to be Captain America. And he wasn't a bad guy. He was an antagonist, and then he became like kind of a low-rent Captain America hero. But I mean, he was a hero for the most part.
We need to bring Captain Britain and his giant sword.
Yeah, that's a whole. let's not start on that. But gosh, because get mad Jim Jaspers. That's what I want to see on screen. But anyway, so what I've heard is that it's basically gonna be, well, Captain America retired. He gave his shield to Falcon, but Falcon is technically still a criminal from the events of Civil War. Right. I mean, just because all these people died, and they made sure that everybody knew that in Endgame. They had T-Bolt Ross, like, hey, I get that half of everybody is dead, but y'all still criminals, they made that very clear. So, the U.S. government has their guy that they want to be Captain America, and Steve picked his replacement for Captain America.
It would be, if they added that into it, it could be a very interesting show.
Yeah, I
feel the Battle of the Americas.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be what the show is about.
You have Captain America versus Captain America.
Yeah. I also heard that U.S. Agent might be played by John Cena.
Oh, Lord. They won't be able to see him then.
How can they defeat him when they can't see him?
He just comes up and all you hear is, oh, watch out, watch out. And Falcon's down for the count. It is interesting. Now, are you excited for to return to Wakanda?
Yeah, the first Black Panther movie is pretty good.
I saw it, and I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but I feel like it could have been better. Like, I feel like it could have been enhanced.
For Black Panther, that was a pretty good movie.
All right, you're the comic book guy, so you know this stuff. I'm the non-comic book guy. I don't know this stuff.
The main things that I didn't like about the movie is some of the CGI was wonky.
Yeah, like the rhinos.
There was a lot of CGI that I was like, y'all ain't trying too hard. Alright, 2, I didn't like that Claw was as minor of a villain as he wound up being. I mean, he was always kind of a minor villain, but he was a pretty major villain for Black Panther.
Which one was Claw?
Andy Serkis.
Okay. I said, don't know these things.
And I didn't quite like that Killmonger. They basically followed the old MCU trope of, well, he's just like the hero but bad. He was just the Ironmonger again. You know, he had the exact same suit. You know, different fighting experience. He got the heart shape. Basically turned him into the Black Panther. He's like, oh, now you have to fight yourself. And I don't like that because he's, you know, little different, some nuanced differences. But I mean, he's not in a panther suit or a jaguar suit because technically he was Golden Jaguar.
Huh.
In the movie, I'm not even talking about the comics. In the comics, he's the motherfucking Killmonger. But I don't like that they're always just making the first antagonist the evil version of the good guy, even if it's true. I mean, like Red Skull and Captain America, that's what it is. It is what it is. But I mean, Red Skull's more of a plotter, so there is a lot of difference.
As now Red Skull is now just
and now he's a ghost.
A ghost or something.
He's the stand of the Soul Stone.
He's a Dementor.
I like being the stand of the Soul Stone better.
The Soul Stone has red. It's his stand. You need the Soul Stone. Menacing. What?
But yeah.
Other
than that, I like the story, and I'm gonna say I liked the politics of it, and I liked the message of it as much as I hate politics and this kind of thing. It's the fact that they left everything kind of open-ended, you know.
I will admit.
They left it to the viewers to decide who was really right, who was wrong, how right were they, how wrong were they. There was a lot of nuance in that message, and it wasn't hit you over the head with real-world political commentary like some of these other things are. And I think there was, as far as Marvel movies with political messages, I mean, that was, you know, like top 3, I guess.
I will admit, when Killmonger was at a council, when he took the throne, he was talking to everyone. He's like, you know, when the slave trade was going, where was Wakanda? Mm-hmm. Y'all had all this power. Y'all could have ended the slave trade instantly and everything. And personally, I do like that message because it does kind of shows like, okay, Wakanda's this great advanced society, but at the same time, they were also very selfish.
Well, I mean, you think about it, he's kind of the Uncle Ben for Wakanda. Like, I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. Y'all have all this power, but you haven't been taking any responsibility.
At least he's not the Uncle Ruckus of Wakanda. That would be better.
Oh, shut up. No. Of course you couldn't resist. No, I mean, I liked a lot. I liked the story of it more than the usual stuff you'd like in a comic book movies.
Well, we don't know much about the second Black Panther, except for, you know, Return to Wakanda. Now, let's talk about everyone's favorite superhero.
I want to talk about
Black
Panther some more.